as a social impactologist, I believe very strongly that what you can provide and help impact another person's life can actually inspire them to impact another person's life. Therefore, it inspires another to impact another one's life. And so that dominoes effect goes on from one person. And you may not know how far it goes, but I usually use the example of Les Brown. Yeah. That lady, Mama Brown, who impacted and adopted him, she does not know maybe the extent of how much she did by all the many people he's impacted.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Leading with Audacious Confidence. I am your host, Alicia Couri here, and today I have the amazing Precious. So let me tell you a little bit about Precious Praskovia Namazi. Precious, as many fondly call her, is a global child advocate, a neuroscience nurse, and a social impactologist who strategically combines her nursing and social entrepreneurship background to prevent premature deaths in children and empower women, while coaching many to become philanthropreneurs, that's a tongue twister, and social impactologists to serve, impact, and leave a legacy. So there is so much that Precious Praskovia that she does here, and we were just talking about her name, which is Russian. So tell me where that came from, first of all. Where does the name Praskovia come from?
Praskovia, and whenever I'm with my patients in my patients' rooms, I say Praskovia, the easiest way to say it, like Italiano, Praskovia. But it has a background, a Russian background. But I am born and raised in Uganda, and it's very common in Uganda. So, and no, we were not colonized by the Russians. Because next thing I know, it's like, where did you know Russians? Or some of them are like, are you Russian? I'm like, no, I don't think so. Yeah, so, but it is common in Uganda. But my mom went to college with a friend called Praskovia. So she wanted to name her firstborn Praskovia. My dad said, no, firstborn is you, her name. So secondborn comes around. My mom was like, I want Praskovia. So I came around.
So you became Praskovia. Very beautiful. And how did you get the nickname Precious? So how does that?
Yeah, so Precious means, Praskovia means a precious girl. But when I was doing Bible school somewhere in the 90s, one of the Nigerian pastors, and Nigeria has a meaning to almost every name. So when they heard Praskovia, they're like, well, what does it mean? At that time, I didn't know what it meant, hadn't traveled much. And then he looked at me and was like, how about Precious? I'm like, a precious girl it is. So we'll go from there. So since 94, 95, I've been called Precious ever since then.
And you are precious. It's a beautiful soul. And we met in the network of influence. And I have been waiting to have a conversation with you because you know, we talk about in your bio, and there's so much, listen, her bio was like 2 feet long. I could only read like half inch of it. But we talked about this kind of philanthropreneur and impactologist, global impactologist, social impactologist, and a global child advocate. And those are some big, huge sort of words and shoes to fill. Since this show is called Leading with Audacious Confidence, how do you lead a movement that is so big? And we're going to talk about what that movement is, but how do you get the confidence to lead something so big?
The confidence, I would say, comes in from knowing your life purpose. We are each of us created with a life purpose. And once you find that, and you walk into it, you walk to fulfill those shoes, I would call them. Once you do that, that's where slowly by slowly it builds the confidence. And I would not dare say, yes, you're now confidently doing it, but it's more like you're fulfilling the calling upon your life. Each of us at any one point, we are gifted, talented, and our experiences we've gone through have actually kind of crafted the person that we are. but then it almost crafts you into who you have been called to be.
Oh, I love that. That's so beautiful.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I do, when I talk about the 7 steps to audacious confidence, I talk about your tags, which I call your talents, your assets, your gifts, and your skills. And it's important to catalog those things. So
Right.
you know those things about you and you have them. And that helps you build confidence, because when you step into an arena that's unfamiliar to you, you already know what your talents are, you know what your gifts are, you know what your skills are, and you have those assets already. So I'm glad you said that. That's beautiful.
Very true. Very
So
true.
you were a neuroscience nurse. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
What did you do as a neuroscience nurse?
Oh, for about 15 years, I've been blessed to be a neuroscience nurse. I've been in the US for 20 years, so 15 out of that, I've been a nurse. Neuroscience, it has to go with the brain. It has to go with your what makes you, but comes from the core of your brain.
Mm-hmm.
It is one thing to look at somebody, and now I can go medical on that, but also the psychological part of it.
Right.
Because it
Which do
actually
you
is,
prefer to practice in, the medical or the psychological?
I combine them.
You
One of my
combine the
favorite
medical
things
and
is
the,
I combine, yes. The beauty of life is it's not a one-sided thing.
it's
The
not one
beauty of what
dimensional.
No, it is not. The beauty of what makes life is the combination. And once you see that this one fits into the other one, and then you actually put them together, it becomes like this beautiful flower, which sometimes I call a rainbow. It becomes this beautiful rainbow with so many things put in it to make it what it is. So what do I
Exactly.
prefer? I like the medical side because, of course, I'm medical, but the psychology side as well. I like it because a lot of our behavior actually creates who we are. And even
Mm-hmm.
it actually impacts the medical side of it.
I love that, because I always thought I would be a psychologist when I was growing up, and I
Yeah.
didn't turn out to be a psychologist. But the field that I work in, we use a lot of brain science
Ah.
and behavioral science
Mm.
to understand why people do what they do, how they do what they do, what
Yes.
motivates them, and what
Yes.
their instincts are for doing. So we use a lot of these different brain science assessments to help
Mm.
people understand themselves. So in that way, we have that in common. And I love anything to do with the brain and
Yes.
behavior. So
I'm very fascinated by that
fascinated by it
because
too.
in that way it helps you understand people. It helps you understand because when you're called to go and work with people, it goes deeper. It's not just on the surface. It goes deeper. But once you understand what makes this person behave the way they're behaving, why are they acting like this? What can I do to actually reach out to them in the way they understand?
Mm-hmm.
Once you understand those things, it actually helps you work with people more effectively.
Absolutely. So let's dive into, because I'm like looking at this textbook here of your bio. And I'm sorry if I'm teasing you too much,
I love it.
but
I love it.
it's so beautiful. There's so many great things in here. So philanthropreneur, I'm having a hard time saying this. It should roll off my tongue, philanthropreneur, because I think I'm a
Yeah.
philanthropreneur.
Yeah.
So you
It's kind of
founded
combining the philanthropist in me and the
and
entrepreneur in me.
and it's perfect, because you've started a nonprofit organization called Precious Kids Foundation, and your mission is to treat, educate, and empower the underserved orphans, widows
Yes.
and single mothers in rural communities in Uganda and across Africa. So how
Yes.
did that come about for you?
Um, it started, I've been in the US for 20 years, but it started way, way before I came here. When I was younger, my mom used to tell me that I would gather kids around
Uh-huh.
on the veranda and I would
Yeah.
play mommy. I would cook food out of dirt, like soil, and you
Yeah.
pretend you're serving them meals. And then I am the technically the third born, but actually alive the second born because my brother died in between. But I'm the
I'm so
third
sorry.
of four. Thank you. I'm the third of four. But I have, when God kind of creates you and you start off when you're young, I have taken on or been put in position to actually be as if I'm the firstborn. So I used to take care of my sister when she was younger and would give her shots because she had sickle cells. And I started her from there, so taking care of people from when I was younger. And my heart would go to those people who I feel like if I find you in a corner, you're kind of isolated, nobody's coming to you, like I'm drawn to coming to you, and it's like, let's come in.
Yeah.
My mom told me that I had a pair of shoes she bought me, and that was like maybe I was 7 to 10 years old, around there. And then I found my sister. I called everybody my sister. So I found my sister. She didn't have shoes at school. And I took off one shoe and gave her, and I proudly came walking home. And
With one
mommy,
shoe.
I gave my sister a shoe. She kind of spanked me for that, and she's like, "Well, if you had to do something good, you give both shoes, not just one." So what did you do? So I would say it started from when I was younger, the inborn side of God's creation.
Giving. You just are natural from the heart, just a giver from the heart, and.
Yes.
So you're living here for about 20 years. You came from Uganda. Uganda is where you were born and grew up. And so how did the mission to start this foundation in Uganda, how did that start for you?
It started off as a longing. So in this time I'm here in the US, and now I am becoming more mature. I'm getting into my place as me as a person. So as I was starting my nursing, I then connected with a person in 2006 who, prior to all of this, I would be dreaming of going back to Uganda, and my heart was starting an orphanage, and my heart was like, I need to go take care of some people. Like, it was in my heart. Little did I know that that's a prayer that's going to be answered in 2006. I found a gentleman who was a preacher, but he was living in another country, but he had some kids that he was taking care of in a rural area in Uganda. And so, but the challenge he had was he didn't maybe have the skills to make it organized, like an organization.
Right.
So he needed managerial leadership skills to do that. So the connection comes in, my desire meets his need. He always says he prayed me into existence. So then I go to Uganda. I happened to be there. I was going to physically go to Uganda in August of 2006. And when I went there, I went to see the location and saw the kids, and my heart was like, yay,
this is
I come back in
felt like
December,
the right thing.
Yes, it feels good. So I come back in December and I'm like, okay, so now what? And with what I always say, God inspired direction, I started on, let's start doing something, even if it's to make sure we provide school for them, even if it's like daily meals and then trainings. And for the women, they can't just sit there. What can we do for them to use their skills and talents?
Nice.
So I did that as an international director for about 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then later on, the Precious Kids Foundation came in, because in between there, I had some life challenges. I lost my dad, went through some other life challenges, and I had to step back. But when you have a calling in you, it never dies.
It doesn't die.
Like,
no, it doesn't.
It's like, okay, take care of yourself, but come back.
And come back. And so now you do these missions and you gather entrepreneurs, which is what is so amazing, because you take now entrepreneurs who have never been to Africa maybe, or never done anything, and you have this mission now that you take and you go to Africa, and you have these how long is it, like 2 weeks where we're working with the children and medical, giving some medical aid, and explain what it is that you do with entrepreneurs. And start there. Explain that.
Right. When you look at, when I said your life purpose, once you find it, then you keep filling those shoes. There's also what that once you're called to do that, you're actually answering a call, not only to you, but to a prayer of somebody else. So how we do it is, my dad passed, for 12 years at that time, I had been taking care of orphans, widows, single moms, just like providing school and skills development, entrepreneurship, skills development, and all that. But once my dad passed in 2015, 3 months later, my auntie passes away. 6 months later, my remaining grandparent, but it was a lady, she passes away. Back to back, I have personal death that happens in less than a year. So as you know, there's this saying, turning your mess into your message. I know there was more like a divine thing where I felt like, okay, you have taken care of orphans, but an orphan, by the time they become an orphan or a widow, somebody passed.
Yeah.
So using the mixture of my Neuroscience RN, the mixture of, a divine direction, and then knowing, okay, so can we do something to prevent the premature death that happens, that causes orphans and widows? Now that you've experienced a premature death in your life, let's do. It's like one of my prayers every time when something happens to me, I'm like, Lord, use my pain to actually not go to waste. Use it. So that then becomes like, okay, so let's go take care of, make sure we conduct massive medical missions. So I contact doctors, nurses, and entrepreneurs so that we gather them, we go to Uganda and we set up at different tents in a big area, like maybe an acre worth of land. And we set up tents. Each tent is a doctor specialty. It could be a general doctor, a pediatrician, or different doctors, dentists. We have them so that when people come in, they come in from one tent to another. It's free of charge. One of my the mandates I have to fulfill is to make sure everything is free of charge.
Right.
Yeah. So that every person, because these are people who have gone years without seeing a doctor and they're having illnesses that are causing the premature death.
Right.
Yet, if we treat them, that can be prevented. Therefore, we don't have so many orphans and widows. So yeah, we do that. And
I'm gonna time out a second.
Okay. Yeah.
Because even I feel overwhelmed by by what you're doing. Where I know you said this is all divinely directed. So I know that the provision was made, but in contacting the doctors and everything, where did you find the funds to set up these massive medical facilities in these places?
When you said it's funded or facilitated, it's out of pocket.
Wow.
A lot, especially in the beginning stages, it was I had to empty out my 401k savings, and you go in because this is something deep rooted in you that you feel you need to do. Right. Yeah. So the doctors come on board to help us, but we have to do the funding of the activities that are going to be taking place.
Right. The tents and the medical equipment and the supplies and the medicine and everything else that has to happen. So that was all self-funded at the beginning. At the very beginning, and maybe 50% of the next one, because we've done two massive ones. In 2018, we treated about 4,700. 2019, we treated about 5,000. So those are the 2 years. This year has gone empty because of what's happening in the world. Yeah. COVID, yeah. But yeah, the second one was 50% funded, self-funded. Wow. So, yeah. That's huge. Yeah. So I'm still like reeling from all of that. So you set up these massive tents, because I'm talking about leadership here. This is a show on leadership. And this to me is like such a massive undertaking. And you have displayed some courage and boldness, audaciousness, and in leading the charge on this, because you have the vision and you are leading the charge on this. And now you are in a position where you're enrolling other people to get involved, not just the volunteers or the doctors and the nurses, but you need a lot of support to get this rolling. So you set up all the tents, you're helping these people, but the help just doesn't stop with giving them that one day of care. No. What else is involved in what you're doing? And so the combination of strategic and philanthropist, that's when a lot of diseases, a lot of things that happen to it's rooted in poverty. That maybe if it's medication, if they had the medication, they would have been okay. If that man had antibiotics to treat his wound, he wouldn't have died. Therefore, we don't have orphans or widows because of that. So that in order to go beyond just the medical mission, and one of my taglines is go beyond medical missions, you need to empower them, economic empowerment. So the reason why I take doctors and nurses and entrepreneurs, that mixture, we're going to treat, then we're going to educate them, and we're going to empower them through economic empowerment. So skills development, vocational training, and just basically entrepreneurship that we get to do. That's where we come in. So you need to it's like you have to be strategic in what you're doing. Yes. So if you're just serving them by treating them, then what happens? They're going to come back. Basically, you're seeing the poverty and the widows and orphans and all this. This these are symptoms of a
Yes.
larger problem. So you
Yes.
are looking for the root, and the root of it is the poverty is the root, and not having access. So you are now providing skills trainings, other things, so that they can raise themselves out of poverty and have more access to treatment and the supplies they need, the medicine they need, and all these things to prevent now the symptom of widows and orphans gathering because of the root cause.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, it's a collective effort. Once you're going out to serve people, you're not serving at them, you're serving with them. So it becomes a collective effort, and you teach them how to fish, as you know the saying. You teach them how to fish.
You teach them how to fish. So when you go, the last 2 times you did this, it was for 2 weeks or for longer?
Usually 2 weeks, yeah.
And I heard one of the, you were giving away one of the trips for someone, and you get an opportunity to go to help, to serve, and then there's some, you get to do the safari. Who wouldn't want to go on an African safari? I mean, I think that's on everybody's bucket list, right? The safari, you get a trip down the River Nile. It's where the River Nile begins in Uganda.
Very unique spot.
The beginning of that huge, long, historic River Nile starts in Uganda. So you get a tour of the River Nile, the starting point, and Kilimanjaro.
Yes.
I mean, that is like heaven. You're going not just to help and to serve and to bring life to people, but then you've coupled it with an experience that is just second to none as well. So it's very unique what you're doing, I think. And
because you need to appreciate the people who are coming to serve you. These are people who have taken their time off. These are people who have traveled 22 to 25 hours into a foreign country, foreign planet, foreign everything. So you need to appreciate them and be like, okay, as much as we have these service trips and you're coming to serve and give of yourself, we want that experience to be mutually beneficial to you. Let us also treat you to an African safari. Let us treat you to a dinner cruise on the Nile River. Let us treat you to something that will delight you, and knowing that there's beauty in serving and helping another person.
Absolutely. And how did you come up with all of this?
I am very rooted in saying divinely inspired in everything I do. So you just bear with me. Just bear with me.
No, I agree. I wholeheartedly agree, because this is not just from the mind of man.
Yes.
This is the way it's beautifully orchestrated and everything put together.
Yeah.
So what is your leadership philosophy? I ask all my guests this. What is your leadership philosophy?
Right. I know a leader is a servant. That one is what helps me. Yes, a servant leader, exactly. Because as you're going, and yes, you may do all these many things that you're doing, but once you know that you are serving a person, that actually brings fulfillment to you. Not because you know how they say more blessed to give than to receive. It's bringing fulfillment to you as you're serving another person, but it actually turns back to you. So to me, I look at it, a leader is a servant, and therefore in everything I do, I kind of put that in there. Even if I'm the one serving the people coming, and the people who are coming who are serving the people we are serving, and the people who are serving who are going to go, because we instill in the people who we serve a desire to actually help another person.
That was my next question, actually.
Oh, okay.
So no, I'm loving it, because I was going to ask you, how do you enroll other leaders to be a part of this?
Yes.
And it's about sharing that opportunity to really be that servant leader.
Yes. We have a lot of local support. When we go there, I'm so grateful for this, because we have a lot of local support. Even if somebody comes and says, I'm going to slash the grass from the area that people are going to use, I'm going to fetch water and bring it so that the camp will have water, I'm going to serve and give my gifts to serve and do this. We we instill that in them to let them know that it takes, in Uganda, actually in Africa, we say it takes a village to raise a child.
Yes.
Whatever we have to do, it's collective. It's not one person did this and therefore we're good.
Yes.
Yes.
And even within the collective, there is a leader, and you are that leader.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so just before we got on this interview, you were on a call to Switzerland. So you are so global, because every day you're speaking to people all over the world. What does it really take for you? Because this isn't an American, like, you're not just getting American entrepreneurs to join this movement. This is a global effort. Like anyone can be a part of this.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, exactly. When I say that I am a global child advocate, I look at children all around, not just Africa. Yes, charity begins at home, so I begin at home. Mm-hmm. Here in the US, I have a foster care program that we're doing and a youth emancipation program that we're doing. In Switzerland, we have a pen pal program, helping do cultural exchange programs between the kids in Switzerland, in Sweden, here in the US, and cultural exchange with the kids in Uganda. So the globalness of it all is I like the idea of let us all, of course, you know the word that says, be the change you want to see in the world. Mm-hmm. So helping people realize and come to that realization of, oh, I can actually do something small. That something small can contribute.
It has an impact.
Yes. So that's the globalness of what we're doing. So it's not, yes, charity begins at home. So I start from Uganda, I start from Africa, but the globalness of it is to involve other people from different countries, different locations, so that they impact the world. Because I believe, as a social impactologist, I believe very strongly that what you can provide and help impact another person's life can actually inspire them to impact another person's life. Therefore, it inspires another to impact another one's life. And so that dominoes effect goes on from one person. And you may not know how far it goes, mm-hmm. but mm-hmm. I usually use the example of Les Brown. Yeah. That lady, Mama Brown, who impacted and adopted him, she does not know maybe the extent of how much she did by all the many people he's impacted.
Yes, the ripple effect.
Exactly.
You drop a pebble in water, and the ripple effect is exponential.
Yes,
it just goes on and on and on and on.
Beyond you, it goes
way beyond you. And this is why I wanted you on the show, because I want to talk about, there are a lot of different types of leaders. I know on this show, I interview a lot of CEOs, and that is one form of business leadership, but this is another form of business leadership that requires, I think, even more confidence and courage to step out and do something that is so far beyond you. Exactly. That I actually feel, I'm sitting here listening to you, and I feel like we need to do like a fundraiser challenge. There are all these business challenges, all these challenges going on right now. These 14-day challenges, these 5-day challenges. We need to do a challenge for entrepreneurs and even business leaders to let's start interviewing some people and see what can they do for Precious Kids Foundation. Because yes, we're in COVID, but people are still suffering. And if there's a way that we can create something to impact a bigger pool of people. I know with the group that we're in, Network of Influence, you have a lot of support there too. Yes. But we can find support anywhere. And I'm going to see we're going to have a conversation and see what we could do outside of this. Because I mean, if we're contacting people who are business leaders, who are CEOs, and who have that kind of influence and power, let's see how much people we can actually really get to do something and make a difference. So
do you know that it doesn't take much all the time? I always say it initiates from a willingness to do something. It doesn't take much. One of the volunteers that came with us, we had about 11, a team of 11 that came with us in 2018. She's not a nurse. She's not an entrepreneur. She's just a mother. She has 10 kids. And she's like, I'm just a mother. What am I going to do? Oh, wow. And so she just said, I want to go hug on the children. We have a video clip of her hugging 100 kids. I feel goosebumps all over. And to those kids, having a hug from somebody who speaks good words into their ears that they haven't heard before. One of the stories
Priceless.
It is so priceless. The Wakanda movie.
Yep.
So one of the actresses, the second, apart from Lupita Nyong'o, but the second one, she said that the founder of Essence magazine came to her country.
I remember her saying.
You remember that?
Yeah.
And that lady held her face and told her she's beautiful. She never forgot that. And so many years later, that confidence built up. She became one of the superstars on the movie Wakanda.
Yeah.
And then that same
Black
lady handed Black Panther. I call it Wakanda. That same lady handed her the award and she's like, you sowed a seed in me so many years ago. So you never know what impact, however small it is, that somebody can make.
You think it's small, right? You think it's small, but it impacts. It's such a huge impact. You know, whatever you can do, if you're willing, you know, if you're willing and obedient, that's what the word says. If you be willing and obedient, you'll eat the good of the land.
Exactly.
So I feel that there is so much that we can do that we think we can't, because it's not even takes a lot of money to impact a child's life either. Right? Because when I think, one of my pastors, they used to say it takes like $1,000 to build a church.
Yes.
A whole church building for $1,000 US. That's
because you need to know the exchange rate is different. If we're talking the monetary value, yes, something small. I usually say, even because in order for us to sponsor one child for per month, it's like $38 per month. So I say, if somebody can come up with $38 per month, you know, you're giving education to that kid, you know, you're giving food and scholastic material and everything. So the hope you help instill in that child. And the medical kids we have, we also say the amount of money that's needed for the medical, you give them hope. So it does not take much. One of the kids we had, for $375, we saved a kid from committing suicide.
Wow.
Did the medical care because his stomach was this big and he could barely breathe, and was wanting to commit suicide because he was bullied at 12 years old. His kidneys had been affected, so he was this big and swollen.
Swole up.
And we took him to the ICU in the city, in the capital city. It was like 2.5 hours drive. Took him to the capital city. We took him to the ICU for $375. And life was changed.
Wow.
So I tell people, it doesn't take much.
It doesn't take much to impact a life, even to go give a hug. Even to go give a hug. Yes. And so when we're talking about leadership, I want everybody to like understand that leadership is not this big sort of, I have to do all these big grandiose things, like lead a huge company and be considered a great leader. Leadership can be, like you said, that mother that just said, I want to go do something. And she came there with a servant's heart, and she was determined to hug everybody, every child that came across her path. And that is a form of leadership, because that's being unselfish, and that's wanting to share whatever you have with someone else.
That's true. Leadership is knowing, what do I have that I can use to help another person, small or big. We don't ask somebody to go above and beyond. Now, there are times that somebody can go above and beyond, and that's a blessing. But we say, what is it that you have? It can be a platform. You can say, one of the best places, like the network of influence, he's given me his platform. I've gone to another place, City Gala, where they gave me a platform. Through that platform, I've met some other people who have given other gifts.
Yeah.
You know? So yes, leadership is like, what is it I can do with what I have, my platform, my connections, circle of influence, finances, other opportunities, to be able to actually be part of what you're doing. That's how we look at it, because what we do then becomes what you do because of your participation.
Love it. Love it. What is next for you?
Right now, we do have ongoing kids that receive chemotherapy. We have a 12-year-old testicular cancer who is now being treated, and for 7 months right now, he's been under chemotherapy. They've done surgical procedure. Now they're going to do radiation. We have other kids that have a lot of other medical issues, because we take care of the normal, who don't need medical attention, and we just provide facilitation for feeding and school, then the medical one. So what is it that we're doing is to make sure those procedures go on, and for me to look for funding from different funding sources, because COVID or no COVID, procedures need to continue.
Yes.
And the other part of it is, because COVID has come in, the price tag of most of the things has gone up. The medication has gone up, the food has gone up, transportation has to be private, not public anymore. So therefore it goes up. So the income has to be more to sustain that. And we are planning our next medical camp in April, God willing, so that if Sister COVID takes a hike and doesn't come back.
Yes, we need that to happen.
Yeah, so involving that, the aim is right now inviting.
How are they doing with COVID testing over there?
Oh, they're doing, surprisingly, the numbers are very low in Uganda. I would say between prayer, knowing that things are going that way, between the system of, like, there's a way we have experienced a lot of pandemics that have come in the country. Ebola was one of them.
Yeah.
So the system has been used to this kind of thing, and the isolation rules are very strict.
Very strict, yeah.
The isolation rules are like, you do it or
because like you said, they are accustomed to it. They know what to do, and they put it into practice immediately.
Right.
So that,
no playing around. So they
no playing around.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So but we're planning, God willing, in April to go back. And so right now we're inviting more people who would like to join our April team, so that we can go, and then they invite others, and they bring their skills and talents, or even families. We usually make this a family trip for people, so that they're coming in to serve, and they serve with their families. That's when you leave a legacy as well.
Yes. I want to ask you because we're almost out of time, but how much does it really take to take a trip like that with you?
Right. So we have different packages that come in because of in-kind donations that we receive. So we have, when they cover their hotel, or they help cover, not fully, they help cover their hotels and meals and transportation and all that. So we give somebody a package, and we cater the package depending on, because we have some people that want to stay longer. We cater the package according to the desire of the person who wants to come.
Right.
So we discuss that with them individually, but it doesn't take much. Almost for 2 weeks, you're looking at between 2,000 and 2,500 to cover all your meals and everything when you go there.
And your airfare and everything.
The airfare is not included, because we've had
not included.
Yeah, people get to use their mileage and different ways of getting there. So you get there.
You get there. Once you're there,
we got you.
We got you. Everything else, you.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. Listen, I have one other question I want to ask. I don't know if you're a mother, but if you're not a mother, I usually ask this of people who have children, but if you're not, I'll ask it of your younger self.
Okay.
What advice would you give to your younger self or your child if to leadership advice? Like, what leadership advice would you give to them as an aspiring leader?
Look for what fulfills your life that serves other people, because that's where you find life fulfillment. As a leader, you'll find out that, yes, you want to make this money and go do your life and everything else, but I've found out that life fulfillment comes in by serving others. I've really found that out. So biologically, I don't have kids yet.
I know
I have 137.
You have a lot of, because those are the children really that you're speaking into, and you're speaking these great things into. So that's kind of where I was going with that question too.
So to grow the leader in them, we encourage them to look into beyond themselves. You look into beyond yourself, and the moment it's like you reach your hand out to touch another person's life, then you are touching your life as well.
Yes.
So to me,
Beautiful.
that's how we groom the leaders, because we are actually grooming future leaders of our country and of our world, because they are not going to only stay in Uganda, they're going to go to different places.
They're going to branch out. Absolutely.
Yes.
And we want to raise them up to be mindful and understand how to really blossom in this world, but also give back to this world.
Yes.
And make it a better place for the next generation.
Exactly. Because
Well,
their lives were made better because of another person when they were younger who made that decision. So I say I'm a backward thinker. I always go backwards to come back.
To come forward.
Yeah.
It's all about paying it forward. It's all about, so that we have that cycle of recreation, because we want to always be giving back into someone else, so that when they move ahead, they give back, and we continue perpetuating that cycle of giving. The circle of life. And let's all go to the home, or the beginning of life. Let's all go and help really empower some widows and orphans, and help them create a better life for themselves. So Precious, this has been so wonderful. I'm so glad to do this, to have you on, because we've been talking about this for a couple months now.
Yes.
Finally got to do it.
Thank you for the honor.
And any last words that you wanted to share before we say goodbye?
Yes. Going back to the root of saying being a philanthropreneur and being a social impactologist, this does not come natural. And I tell people, they're like, oh my God, it's too big, I can't start. Where can I start from? I always say start from where you can. Have it in your mind to know that you can start from where you can. As an entrepreneur, it could be your circle of influence. It could be any funding. It could be anything. So my last words to anybody is, whatever your calling is, start from wherever you can and actually build from there. Because I always say the world is waiting for your awakening.
The world is waiting for your awakening. Yes. Amen to that. Yes. Well, thank you so much, Precious. And for anyone who's listening that wants to get involved, all the information will be in the show notes and also in the description here. If you are watching us on YouTube, if you're listening to us, make sure to check out the show notes, how you can get in touch with Precious, how you can be a social impactologist yourself, or a philanthropreneur. So make sure to check it out and get connected with Precious and all the amazing things that she's doing here as a global child advocate. So until next time, we'll see you again. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching.
Thank you. Thank you for having me too.
Audacious confidence is the unshakable belief in yourself that's so brave and so bold that you step into what's possible for yourself, despite your feelings, fears, or failures. I encourage you to follow, subscribe, like, and share this out with your friends. To learn more about our guests, check out some additional episodes. Go to aliciacouri.com/leading with audacious confidence. Until next time, this is Alicia Couri saying, live your life bold, brave, and step out with audacious confidence. Till next time.